When you check into a hotel, you expect a certain level of cleanliness, service, and customer care. Some hotels offer the most elegant luxuries, like fluffy bathrobes, giant TVs with hundreds of channels, and bathtubs deep enough to swim in. Other hotels boast soggy carpets, sketchy neighborhoods, and an assortment of bodily fluids that can only be seen under UV light. The notorious Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, California, leans more toward the second description. Built in 1924 with mid-range priced rooms for traveling businessmen, the Cecil's beautiful lobby and Beaux Arts architectural style attracted travelers. Unfortunately, the Great Depression and the location of the hotel near Los Angeles' infamous Skid Row led to its deterioration. In 2011, the Cecil Hotel's new owners reclaimed a portion of the lobby and several floors of rooms, redecorating the spaces and calling it Stay on Main. It was here, in the newly relaunched Stay on Main Hotel, that Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old college student from Vancouver, Canada, disappeared. Elisa Lam was born on April 30th, 1991. Her parents, David and Yina Lam, had immigrated from Hong Kong to Burnaby, British Columbia. While Elisa was attending the University of British Columbia, she had been an avid blogger with one blog on Blogspot called Etherfields and one called Nouvelle Nouveau on Tumblr. On these blogs, Elisa wrote about her frustrations with life, struggles with mental health, challenges with university classes, and how she needed a break. Her plan was to take a tour of America's California coast, stopping in San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Santa Cruz. Elisa checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 26, 2013. There were a variety of room types at the Cecil with rates that appealed to travelers. Elisa's first room at the Cecil was a dorm-type room with multiple people sharing the space and a shared bathroom down the hall. She stayed in that room for 3 days. Then on January 31st, the other women staying in the room complained about Elisa's behavior. She was locking them out of the room, demanding they tell her the password, and leaving handwritten notes saying, "Go away." Management resolved this complaint by moving Elisa to a private room on the same floor. This move was the last time a hotel worker saw her alive. Elisa was in the habit of calling her parents daily to check in, but on February 1st, they did not hear from her. They reported her missing right away to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, who contacted LAPD. Furthermore, she did not check out of the Cecil. With Elisa missing, hotel staff gathered her belongings from the room and placed them in storage. Elisa's parents and sister flew into Los Angeles to be present during the search for Elisa. Though they appeared with the LAPD at a February 6th press conference, they were not outspoken about their situation. The police investigation for Elisa turned up evidence both fascinating and disturbing, but were not able to find her. Then, the hotel's residents and guests began complaining about the quality of the water in their sinks and showers. A couple visiting from England explained that the water pressure would alternate between full pressure and a slow trickle. When they turned the water on, it would come out of the tap black for a few seconds. It also had an awful, sweet, disgusting taste. Water at the Cecil is stored in 4 large tanks on top of the hotel. This water is used by the guests for drinking, bathing, and all other water needs. These large tanks are installed at the highest point of tall buildings so that the water can be fed by gravity through the taps. This method is much more efficient than having to feed water to high floors with pumps. As a result of customer complaints, a hotel maintenance worker climbed up to the water tanks to find out why the water was bad. When he opened the hatch at the top of the tank, the problem with the water became obvious. Elisa's naked, decomposing body was found floating in the tank. Firefighters were called in to retrieve Elisa's body from the water tank. They had to drain the water and cut a hole in the tank to remove her. Despite this horrible finding, the Cecil remained open. As people checked in, they were told that the water was not clean and they had to sign an agreement that guaranteed they would not sue the hotel if they became ill from the water. The Los Angeles Public Health Department tested the water, but found no harmful bacteria. likely due to the chlorine that the city adds to the water supply. This reassurance did little to ease the stomachs of those guests who had been bathing, brushing their teeth, and drinking the water from the hotel tanks. The evidence police uncovered in their investigation never led to the arrest of a suspect. It did lead to a tangle of odd facts, mysterious coincidences, and conspiracy theories. When police investigated Elisa's belongings, they found nothing was missing. Her clothing and toiletries had all been left in the hotel room. A box containing books she purchased earlier in the day at the last bookstore was still there. Her medications for bipolar disorder were also among her belongings, though when the pills were counted, investigators found that she had not been taking the medications on the recommended schedule. The medication issue was verified during Elisa's autopsy. Tests of her blood levels showed that she had taken some of the medication, but it was at much lower levels than it should have been. The toxicology report showed there were no illicit drugs or alcohol in her system. The medical examiner noted no physical injuries to her body. He theorized that her bipolar disorder played a role in her death. The medical examiner first listed her death as could not be determined. Then, 3 days later, the cause of death was changed to accident. Another significant piece of evidence analyzed by police is a video from the elevator. In the video, Elisa is seen entering agitated. She stands in the corner of the elevator, then peeks out the door. She steps back in, presses a number of the buttons, and continues to peek out of the elevator and down the hallway. A couple of minutes into the video, she steps out of the elevator and seems to be talking to someone. She moves her hands as though she's agitated. Then she disappears down the hallway. Eventually, the elevator doors close. The clothing Elisa was wearing in the elevator video is the same clothing that was found floating in the tank with her body. There is some confusion about the reporting of the water tank itself. The panel used to enter the tank is on the top. It is not a hinged panel. Instead, it's removed, then replaced. It's not clear whether this panel was open or closed when police first checked the water tanks in their initial search for Elisa. If it was open, she could have gotten into the tank on her own. If the hatch was closed, it would indicate foul play. There's no way she could have closed the hatch from the inside. Though police collected all this evidence, as it was made public, odd coincidences and conspiracy theories began to surface. The Cecil Hotel had long been associated with unusual events and notorious guests. Over its almost 100 years, the hotel has seen many paranormal events, multiple suicides, 16 murders, and was home to Richard Ramirez, the serial killer known as the Night Stalker. Another odd coincidence surrounds the unhoused populations of Skid Row. At the time Elisa Lam was staying at the hotel, a tuberculosis outbreak was sweeping through Skid Row. The unusual aspect of this outbreak is that the test used to identify TB is called Lam-Elisa. Elisa has no connection whatsoever with the outbreak of TB on Skid Row or with the test. In 2005, a Japanese horror film called Dark Water was released. The events in this film uncannily foreshadowed Elisa Lam's death. In the film, Dahlia and her daughter Cecilia move into a cheap, rundown apartment. The water runs black from the taps and smells bad. An elevator scene, which is eerily similar to Elisa's CCTV footage, leads Cecilia to find that there is a dead woman in one of the water tanks. These similarities are indeed uncanny. Web sleuths, amateur online detectives, who find the time to track down and analyze every detail of a case, discovered an interesting synchronicity. The last bookstore, where Elisa shopped the day of her disappearance, has V5G4S2 as a postal code in its domain registration. When that code is entered into Google Maps, it pinpoints Elisa's burial spot in Canada. One problem with web sleuths is that they are amateurs, and they may lack the ability to step back and look at evidence with a critical eye. Some web sleuths, fascinated with Elisa's case, latched onto the similarities between details of her case and the music of Morbid, a death metal musician. Morbid's relationship to Elisa is extremely coincidental. Like thousands of other people, Morbid stayed at the Cecil Hotel and posted a video talking about it on his channel. In an additional logical leap, some web sleuths who analyzed Morbid's song lyrics and videos found some songs about drowning and some about young women being chased and murdered. As they stretched to make these tenuous connections, they overlooked the fact that Morbid was not even in the United States at the time. He was in Mexico, where he lives. When we leave behind the musings and logical blind spots of conspiracy theorists and amateur online detectives, we are left with only the facts of Elisa's life and death. Elisa Lam was a young woman traveling alone. She struggled with her mental health, taking 4 kinds of prescription medication to manage her bipolar disorder. The other women she was staying in the hostel-type dorm room with in the Cecil reported that she was behaving erratically, to the point that they asked the management of the hotel to step in. Police recovered video footage of Elisa alone in the elevator, seemingly talking to someone or hiding from someone, further confirming the reports of her erratic behavior. Investigators also found that she had not been taking her medication regularly. The water tanks on the roof of the Cecil are not easily accessible. If she had been murdered and the killer wanted to dispose of her body in the water tank, he would have had to carry her up a fire escape ladder to the roof, climb up to a platform, then climb another 10-foot ladder to the top of the tank. It makes significantly more sense to believe that Elisa made this climb herself. Assuming she was not taking her medication, her moods might have been cycling rapidly due to her bipolar disorder. She may also have been hallucinating. Even so, given the location of the tanks, it would have been hard for Elisa to make the climb and open the hatch. 10 years have passed since Elisa Lam disappeared, yet the mystery of her death lingers on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below.